Hi, good day. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Escape Academy. Today we'll be going into something interesting, something fascinating, and something intriguing. And what we'll be doing is we are going to teach you how to use HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap to create a sign-in web page. A simple sign-in web page. What I mean by sign-in web page is something like this. Let me show you the example of sign-in web page. Something like this. So we'll be teaching you on how to create a sign-in page exactly like this. So please calm down and learn how to create something like this step by step. First and foremost, let's try and cancel this one. Let's close this page. Minimize. And the first thing you need to do is that you go to your Google Chrome browser and you go and download Bootstrap. Bootstrap. So just search download Bootstrap. Just search just search download Bootstrap. Download Bootstrap. Something like this. Once you click enter, it will bring the first thing that it displays. That is your link to download Bootstrap. After you are done downloading the Bootstrap, then it will show it will download something like this, a zip file like this. The next thing you are going to do is that just click on it and extract it. You extract the file and see it. Okay, this extract here, this extract file. You extract the file, click OK and wait. After that, good. So our file has been extracted. This is it. You go into it, enter, then you copy this CSS and JS. This CSS is our cascading file and this JS is JavaScript. But before you do that, you need to go and create your root folder. So you minimize this, create a new folder for your project and name it anything you want. I just name it sign. Then you open the folder, and if the folder is empty, you minimize this, then open your Bootstrap where you extracted your file. You open it, you enter this Bootstrap file, Bootstrap folder. When you enter the folder, you enter the folder, you enter it again, and you copy Ctrl A. You copy all the file that is here. Just copy, you minimize, go to your folder, then paste it. Boom. After that, you can minimize this. And the next thing we do is that since you are creating a sign-in page, you are going to be needing something like a logo or a picture. So let me just go and copy a picture somewhere here. So I'll copy somewhere here. Yeah, something like this. Just copy. Let me just copy this photo and use it as our logo. Yeah, copy it and use our logo. Come here. Paste page logo. So now in our folder, you can see we have our CSS folder, our JS folder, which is JavaScript, and we have our logo. Now let's start. The first thing we do is that you open this our project file with Visual Studio. Now that be our code editor. You can just click on it and drag to it and wait for it to load our project folder. So, good. And this is our folder here. You can see our signing folder. This is our file, CSS, JS, and logo. And the next thing we do is that just cancel this page. And the first thing you will do here when you get is create a new index file. Our index.html file, create it. HTML file. Boom. Enter. Now you can see these are index.html file. Now the first thing you do is that you already know how to create index.html file. If you don't know how to create it, just go to my other YouTube video. You can see where I explain how to create a simple interface for coding HTML. Now let's start. First is open the tag doctype. That's the first tag you will introduce in your HTML file. The next thing to do is you open your HTML tag. So I'll open it. Now the first thing, after you inside that HTML file, you open what we call head tag. You open something like this. Now within your head tag, the first tag we need is meta tag to indicate that our web page is compatible with UTF-8 encoding. I close this tag. You open another meta tag. You name it. The name will be viewport and give it a content. The content will be the weight of your web page will be device width, file width, yeah, comma, then the initial scale will be 1. Then you close this tag. The next tag you open is title tag. Now just give it enter to me. I just give it sign in. So you save your file. After you save your file, let's go to our project folder. Okay, and minimize this. This is our project folder. Open it. You can see we now have our index file here. So just open this index file. Once you open this index file, if you open and display something like this, this is a blank page. This is our sign that I will just code for sign in. Now let's go to our code editor. After that, the next thing you will do is that you now come here and create CSS file for our project. So you can give it any name. I just want to give it sign in.css. You can give it literally any name. You can use good.css, any name, but make sure your extension is .css. So you save. After that, just leave this one for now. Go back to our HTML page. Now the next thing we'll do is that we'll try and link our CSS file to our HTML page, both the CSS of our Bootstrap and our normal CSS. Now how do we link that? We link that by introducing what we call a link tag. This is a link tag. First thing that comes after is href. Here we put the link of our file or the path of our file. So let's start with our Bootstrap. The path is css slash bootstrap dot mi dot css. Done. We have imported the CSS of our Bootstrap. Then the next thing you do is that you indicate the type of the file using rel. So when you use rel, you might indicate that this file is a style sheet. Save. You import your normal CSS file, which is signin.css, using the same link tag. And the name of our file is signin.css. Our URL will be the same thing, style sheet, close the tag, then you save. Boom. So you have successfully import your CSS file with your HTML file. You have linked it. So anything you do in your CSS page will affect your HTML page. Simple as that. Now, the next thing we'll do is that we come out of our body tag, of our head tag rather. Come out of our head tag and open the next tag, which is body tag. So anything we want to code for at all, anything that will display in our web page will be within this body tag. Now, the next thing we'll do is that the first thing we'll do is that we have to class our body, the body of our web page. How do we class it? Introduce the class command. Then we give it a class. Since we are trying to create a sign-in form, just name it form sign in. Form sign in. Then we give it a width of 100, and you give it an auto command. This line of code is just like a command that we use in Bootstrap. This command will affect what the page of our web page. So now after that, we have classes. We save. After you are saved, and the next tag you will open is form tag. And within that form tag, that's where we start coding for our form. And the first thing you do is that since it's our form, the first thing you do is you introduce an image, more like a logo. So as we introduce image, we use what we call image tag, img tag. This img tag is used for importing image. Now, img tag, when you source for it, the name of our logo is logo.png. This is it here. Now you just write it logo.png. Give it hot. You can write logo. You can give it literally any name. Then you give it width. I give it 200. Then you give it height. Let's give it 200 also. Then you save. Let's save. When you save, go back to your web page. You need our web page now. So when you refresh, boom, this is our image, more like our logo. Now the next one is that we want to center this image. We want to put this image at the center of our web page. Now the next, go to your code editor. How do we center it? We introduce what we call center tag. This is how it is. Center tag. You can see it's a two tag. It has an open tag and closing tag. Now what we do is that you copy the line code of the image, then drag it to the middle of the center tag. You can see you have open tag, closing tag, and the code of your image is in between this closing and open tag of center. Now you save. Go back to your page. Do a refresh. Now you can see this is a refresh, and our image is now at the center of our web page. Interesting. If you like my video, if you like what I've been saying so far, please don't hesitate to hit a like button, a subscribe button for more valuable content like this. Now let's proceed. The next we want to do is that let's write something. Let's add something at the after our image. Let's add something below it. Maybe like please sign in or sign in here. So we use our h1 tag, which is our heading tag. So now we class it. Let's give it the class. Let's give it the class so that to make it more interesting. Class is h3 md3 then fw normal. So this is just a bootstrap code for styling our heading. And let's write please sign in. Now you save. When you save, go back to your web page. Refresh. Good. These are heading. Now let's try and move this thing to the center, just as we did with this first logo. Now you go back to your code editor. Go back to the code editor. Just try and drag this closing tag of center. You drag it here. So it will encompass both image and the heading tag. You save. Go back to your web page. Refresh. You do a refresh. When you do a refresh, you can see now this is now at the center. Interesting. Now let's move further. Now let's try and introduce our input box. How do we introduce our input box? We do that by creating what we call div tag. Create what we call a div tag. This div tag is more like the tag that we use to section each section of our web page. Like we use it to demarcate the section of our web page. Now, when you open a div tag, the first thing you do is that you go back and class it. Give it a class. Why? Because we are working with Bootstrap here. So you must always class your tag that you use. You must always class it so that your Bootstrap will be effective. Now, let's give it a class. A class called form floating. Now, after that, within those div tag, we introduce what we call input tag. This input tag will carry a command. First command is type. The type of input is it our email, is it our password? We start with our email. Now you give it a class. What class? Class is known as form control. Form control. And the next thing you do is that you give it an ID. This ID will be used in the next line of code. Just listen. Simple ID. You just give it name it floating input. So the next command is you give it a placeholder. You can give it or not, but let me just give it a placeholder. A placeholder is something that will be displayed inside the form, the box of your form. Now let's give it a word. Email. Now you save. Now you save, then you go back. Now you have saved now. Let's go back to our web page. Let's refresh. Let's see what happens. Can see nothing happened yet. Good. Now go back to our web page, our code editor. Now we try and This is what we know as label. Label for what? The label is for this floating ID. I told you we use it in our next nav code. The floating ID. Close the tag and you write something here. Since we have used email address, let's write email address. Let's write email address. And save. Once you save, let's go back to our web page. Let's see something happen there. Good. You can see now I have something different here. Interesting. Now let's proceed. The next thing we do is that we introduce our password input field by creating another div tag. The class is the same class give email form control form floating rather form floating. Now Windows tag introduce input tag. Give it a type of the input. This time around is what? Is it our email or our password? I believe it should be our password because we are dealing with password field now. Password. Now you give it a class. You give it a class. And you can give it the same class as this one. This is known as form control. Form control. You give it an ID because we use it in the next line of code. Our ID will be floating password. Floating password. Then you give it a placeholder. Password. Close the tag. Then open a label tag. The label for what? The label for our ID, which is what? Floating password. You can see. And close the tag. Sorry. Close the tag. Then write password as our content. Password. And write password, then you save. Once you save, go back to your web page, do a refresh. Now we now have email and password field. Interesting. If you are enjoying my tutorial so far, please don't hesitate to hit a subscribe button, a like button, and comment. If you are not sure of something, make a comment. I will gladly reply you. Now, let's proceed. And the next thing we'll do is that we'll introduce what we call a checkbox. Now, we move out of this div tag of this password, then you create another div tag. The Windows div tag, what you need to do is that you give it a class too. But this time a different class since it's not the same thing as our email and password input. This time around you are trying to create a form check to what? Give it a class as form check input. Form check, and you style the text. The text starts to be my3. It's just it's just a code. It's like a command in Bootstrap. So now the next thing you do within those div tag, now into this input tag. type of input tag is what? The type is form check input. So it's not a type, it's a class. First, you class it first. It's a class. The class is form check input rather. So the next thing we got, we now give the type. Type is checkbox. Checkbox. Then after that, you give it a value. The value is remember me. Now the next thing you do, you give it an ID. With an ID of flex check flex check default. Flex check default. When you close, then open another tag which is label tag. Label, you class the label, give it a form check label. Form check label. And our label is for what? It's for our ID, which is flex check default. This particular ID I created here, this is here. Simple as that. Then you close the tag and write remember me. Like a checkbox for remember me. You save. Once you save, go to your web page. Do a refresh. Wow, can see this I remember. Can see the checkbox. Can check it. Interesting. Now let's proceed. The next thing we are going to do is to what? Is to create our button. You know, now we have an input box for email. We have password. We have checkbox. It remains what? The button for submission. Now how do we do that? You go back to your code editor. It's a simple thing. Exist out of this div tag, create another div tag. You can see this is a clean and simple code. You don't have to stress yourself, just listen and you get it. And you open a div tag, the classes. So if you are not opening any div tag, since you are creating a button, just open a button tag directly. Open a button tag. Within that button tag, you give it a class. So this class will be button btn primary btn primary, and the width is 100. Then the keyword is 2. Then you give it a type. Type of the button is submit. You are submitting. After that, you go here within the button, open and closing down the button, and you write sign in. Save. Once you save, go back to your web page. Let's save. Good. And we have our sign in button. Interesting. Now let's proceed. So let's try and write something at the bottom of our sign in button. So we can just write literally anything. We're going to write something like this. Let's use a paragraph tag to write something. So you can write literally, write something like this. Copy. 23, 25. Save. Let's see if there's any changes here. You go to your web page, you do a refresh. Good, you can see now this is it. Let's now give it some space a little bit. You go back to your code editor. So how do we do that? Come back here, you class it. This is the work of Bootstrap. You class it by giving it a command. By giving it, you just give it a class, MT5, MB3, MB3, then the text should be, the text body should be secondary. You save. As you save, go back to your web page, do a refresh, and you can see the difference now. So this is the work of Bootstrap. Simple as that. So now this is our plain sign-in form with ordinary Bootstrap and HTML. Now let's try and style this, this sign-in form. How do we do that? That's where we introduce our CSS file. We are done with HTML code now. Now once we do that, we introduce our CSS file. So go to your CSS file. Good. Now in your CSS file, you now start styling your HTML from that what you just finished coding. So how do we do that? We do that by starting with the by what? Start styling. First you indicate HTML, then style the body. How do you style the body? You add the body, then you open close bracket, curly bracket. Now you do what? Let me go back. First you write your HTML, the second you write your body, then open and close curly bracket. This body is gotten from this here. This is our body tag here. This is it. You can see it. This is it. So the next thing we do that, go back to your CSS file. Now let's give our body a height of 100%. Now you save. After that, enter exist. Then go back to your HTML page. And now see, you check what can we style next. The next thing we style here is our first class here, the class of the body, which is form sign-in. This is the class. Copy. You copy this first two words, form sign-in. The remaining are for what? Bootstrap commanding. The first one is for CSS. So you copy it, come here. When you are doing it with class in CSS, you want to style your class in CSS. The first thing you do is what? Dot. You paste the name, you write the name of the class you copied from HTML. Sign, which is form sign-in. Then you open a bracket and close it. Then I give it, try and give our form max width. Let's give it something like 320 pixel. Save. Then let's give it padding. Give it padding. Give it padding. Let's give it 1M. Save. Now if you go back to your web page and do your refresh, boom. Interesting. You can see now our form is now in a presentable manner. Why? Because we use CSS file to style, to change the word, the max to it. If you try to cancel this thing now and save and go back to our web page, it's something will change there. Cancel now. Can see something has changed. So if you go back and put back our size and save, go back to your page, refresh. Interesting. So you can see the work of CSS. So both CSS, Bootstrap, and HTML they work hand in hand. So if you must know HTML, you must know CSS, and you must also know Bootstrap. If you are enjoying my video so far, please don't hesitate to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, enjoy my video. Now let's proceed and see what you can do in this forms again. Now go back to your CSS style. Let's now do some other CSS. Now go back to your web page, your HTML page. You check here what can we style here. Okay, you can style this class also. This is the next class. This is the next class after this class, and this form floating class is within the form signing class. So if you are trying to style this form floating in your CSS, this is how you do it. You first indicate your form signing, then indicate your form floating. Indicate your form signing and indicate your form floating. Now, the next thing you do is that you give it a focus within. Focus within. Is it? Then open and close the bracket. C index. Yes, our C index will be, let's give it 2. It's safe. Next time you go back to your HTML page, let's see what you can style. Okay, can also style our inputs here. This input, you can style it. So how do we do that? We go back to our CSS page, then we try to style by indicating our the first word, the first class, which is form signing. This is first class. All the other class are within this first class. Now go back to our CSS. We are trying to style the input. Form signing the input. This input. We give it a type. Then we have two input type. We have password and email. So we give this one a type. And the type we are giving it here is email. Then you open and close bracket. Just give it margin button. Margin button. Let's give it -1 pixel. Then let's give it a border button. Border button. Sorry, border button. White radius. Let's give this 0. Border border bottom left radius, give it 0, save. After you save, you come out, then you start the second input, font sign on, input, type of the input. The type of the input is what? Is our password now. Our password. Our password. Now open and close it. Now what do we do now? Give it the same style you gave the first input. Start with margin bottom. Give it 10 pixels. Give it border bottom. Left radius. Give it 0. Give it border bottom. Right radius. Give it 0. Save. Boom. That's all. We are done with our CSS styling. Now go to our web page. Do some refresh. Cast some refresh. Now this is a complete sign page from scratch to the finish using HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap. Because now, if you try to write anything that is not even here, something happens. If you say, please include an art in address, this is the work of Bootstrap. So now, if you enjoy my tutorial so far, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and stay tuned for more impactful videos like this, for more interesting tutorials like this.